4 jobs I have had in my life. 1. I worked at a carpet store. We didn't have a dumpster. We didn't even have a trash can. At the end of the day, the installers just slung the remnants, an old tack strip and pieces of pad, etc., out of their trucks onto the loading dock at the rear of the store. Every 6 months or so, we'd borrow the dump truck from the construction company next door, and I got to pick up all the stuff in the back, load it into the truck, then drive the truck out to the dump as it spewed trash all over the road. In those 6 months it had rained several times and bugs had developed a thriving community, and there I was picking up 6 months' worth of garbage off the loading dock and the ground where it had fallen. Thankfully, I got paid minimum wage, so I was doing okay. Far better, at least, than the garbage dump manager who lived in the trailer standing in the hot sun, 50 or 100 feet from the edge of the garbage dump. 2. I worked for 1 day at some drug wholesale place in the Fulton Industrial Park near Six Flags in Atlanta. All I had to do was wrap orders in heavy-duty Saran wrap and put the orders in a pile so the UPS man could take it off to heal the halt and the lame. What made the place interesting was the antagonistic culture. No one ever said a nice word to anyone. For some reason the place had developed a culture of ritual insults which played out over the course of the day. This wasn't fully evident until lunch, when the regulars had an hour to work on insulting each other. Guys, and it was all guys, who brought in a sandwich which was not considered manly enough were held up to ridicule. If someone forgot something, he was insulted and informed that his mother was in fact a dog. It was a creepy and unpleasant place occupied by half-wits convinced they were clever. 3. I worked 1 day at Paul Rothman, a wholesaler of fabrics and cloth, I guess. That's all I saw there. I had to help unload a truck filled with bolts of cloth. It wasn't too bad, really. It was clean and dry, and while the regular employees were not especially friendly, neither were they especially nasty. Well, except to Stanley. They were nasty to Stanley. Stanley was a strange, lumbering, mumbling kid who needed to be on drugs. I mean heroin or something, not antidepressants. Apparently, Stanley had chickens, and so the calumny went, he could often be seen chasing them across his yard. The women who cleaned up especially liked to tell Stanley how much they'd enjoyed watching him chasing chickens. They'd bend over and flail their arms around and make clucking sounds, then laugh. As they moved away, he'd mutter "goddamn bitches" and glare at them until they turned the corner and vanished. At the end of the day we got the call from Edwina, the queen of the Caldwell chameleons. We temp workers were called chameleons because we were supposed to blend in wherever we went. We had another job for the next day. Burke concrete, but be sure to wear old clothes. When you work temp labor and they tell you to wear old clothes, it's not a good sign. 4. Burke Concrete did several things, but the only thing that really concerned me was that they leased construction materials and equipment. The stuff they leased came back filthy, and had to be cleaned and then greased so it could be sent out again to continue the strip mollization of the earth. They rented tilt-ups. Tilt-ups are collapsible metal pawls which weigh either 105 pounds or 155 pounds. Which are designed to hold up concrete walls while they are bolted into place. They are not happy toys. They come back bent and covered with hunks of concrete and mud. My job, of course, was to pick up the tilt-up, clamp it down, knock off the extraneous matter, and then spray it down with Burke Release, a fancy name for diesel fuel, and grease up the threads. Bent tilt-ups, of course, did not want to work, so they had to be hammered into submission. It was 20 degrees in Atlanta that winter, and we were working outdoors, and getting warm meant leaning over a barrel of fire started by spraying wood with Burke Release and tossing in a match. Our clothes were saturated with Burke Release as well, which made getting warm a death-defying proposition. We were all human torches in the making. After a while, we got taken off tilt-up duty and were transferred to removing hunks of wood nailed onto big steel triangles by beating on them with hammers. That was loud work, and it likely goes without saying, fun. All of this work has, surprisingly, not made me rich.